Today on The Report, we discuss the death of Pope Francis on Easter Monday at 88 years old.
Another mass shooting occurred in the United States, this time at Florida State University.
Plus, a dead gray whale washes up on shore in Huntington Beach.
And the California Faculty Association hosts an informative fair on campus. The report starts now.
Welcome back to another episode of The Report. I'm Juliana White.
I'm Alejandra Chavez.
I'm Allison Goyich.
And I'm Rihanna Hartman. Don't forget to follow our Titan TV Instagram at Titan TV CSUF to keep in touch with us and view our latest content.
Breaking news from the Vatican, Pope Francis has passed away at the age of 88 from a stroke and heart failure. The Holy See press office confirmed the pontiff died at 7:35 a.m. on Easter morning, April 21st at his residence in Casa Santa Marta. Cardinal Kevin Farrell, Camerlengo of the Holy Roman Church, made the official announcement stating, quote, "The Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the house of the Father. His entire life was dedicated to the service of the Lord and his church, especially in favor of the poorest and most marginalized," end quote. The late Pope Francis had battled respiratory issues in recent years, including hospitalization in February for pneumonia.
Jorge Mario Bergoglio, who chose the name Francis inspired by St. Francis of Assisi, became the first Jesuit and Latin American pope in 2013. His 12-year papacy was marked by mercy, care for creation, and attention to the world's forgotten corners. The Vatican says his body could be transferred to St. Peter's Basilica on Wednesday for public veneration and prayer. At the request of the late Pope Francis, funeral rites will be simplified and focused on expressing the faith of the Church in the resurrection of Christ. The Catholic Church has now entered a traditional 9-day mourning period where his funeral and a conclave meeting to elect his successor will take place. This is a developing story. All right, guys, I was awake really late at night and I saw on Instagram when the news dropped, and I was super shocked because we've known for a while that unfortunately the Pope's health was not doing well, but he did make a public appearance on Easter yesterday. So we were super surprised to see him, but I didn't think he would unfortunately pass so quickly after his last public appearance. And there's been a lot of talk not only in Vatican City, but also just worldwide about it. So how do you guys feel about it?
Yeah, this pope was one of the most highly respected and progressive popes that we've seen. And so, yes, it of course is a shock to see him pass away, although we did know that, there were some health concerns that were lingering, and it was only a matter of time. I'm happy to see that he had a great public appearance yesterday on Easter, and I'm sure that, he kind of felt like that was his passing time. Like it was the right time. He went through Easter and now he can rest in peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we understand for the Catholic community, these are like shocking news since he was very loved by the people. He supported LGBT rights, he talked about the pederasts in the church and acknowledged how bad it is. And besides that, he's from Latin America, even the first pope from the Americas. So I found that the fact that he's from Argentina makes it nice to know that Latin America had some representation there in the Vatican. So it's definitely shocking news for me as a Catholic.
Definitely. It was shocking this morning waking up and that being the first piece of news I get. I'm like, oh my gosh, the Pope is gone. It's crazy, but it is he was a very progressive Pope, and I also did like how he was very humble about everything. He wasn't really for luxury, he was for the people. So it is sad that he passed, but hopefully he's resting easy now. Tragedy strikes the Deep South this past Thursday after a shooting at Florida State University left 2 students dead and 6 injured. Florida State University is the 18th shooting on a college campus in 2025. On April 17th, 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner, a Leon County deputy's stepson and FSU student himself, entered campus with a loaded shotgun and pistol borrowed from his stepmother's gun cabinet and claimed the lives of faculty member Robert Morales and father of 2, Tiru Chaba. Police were quick to respond and apprehend Eichner while the injured were immediately rushed off scene to medical care.
Some Parkland graduates experienced their second deadly school shooting in 7 years. Josh Gallagher, a law school student at FSU, also survived the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in 2018. He said, quote, "No matter your politics, we need to meet, and something has to change," end quote. The following afternoon, FSU hosted an impromptu candlelight vigil for the victims of the attack, with thousands in attendance. So I want to know you guys' opinion about this. We're talking about gun regulation. Like, we have been seeing shootings in the United States for several years now. So when are we gonna stop? Additionally to that, according to NBCU, they interviewed some of his classmates, and they were saying that he was clearly a white supremacist, to say it like that. He did not support LGBTQ rights or even women of color, or just basically women. So this is definitely a serious situation that we're seeing in the country.
Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people are just desensitized to the issue. I think a lot of people assume that it would never happen to them, so they don't see any issue with it. Or you see a lot of people who are very much supporters of the Second Amendment and, the right to bear arms. But unfortunately, we do live in a world now where firearms are easily accessible. Anyone can use them. And, it's not happening just on college campuses. It's happening in elementary schools. It's happening in high schools. It's happening to people who are just trying to go to school and live their days and not think they need to be scared for their lives. Schools are supposed to be a safe place. So, and just even seeing some of the social media response as well. Obviously most people are going to be sad about it, but there's so many people who immediately turn to political or, again, just desensitized to it in general and don't think they can do anything about it. So I think that's one of the more pressing issues right now, is just to get more people to realize that, hey, this is becoming out of control at this point.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly sad and just really frustrating that there were also Parkland students there who've had to experience this for a second time. Like, they shouldn't even have to experience the first school shooting, but now a second one when they're in college is honestly insane. And then I also did actually see a recount of what was happening from one of the victims, because she did a video on it on TikTok, and she was saying she didn't even hear the gunshots from where she was, but just looking outside, she saw students running, she saw laptops being left out, and she just knew. And it's so sad that she was just already prepared for that because of previous experience.
Yeah, I totally hear you. And I also saw a video on TikTok of a student who went to FSU, or who goes to FSU, interviewed, and she also had experienced a school shooting before, and now is again. And again, we shouldn't even be seeing students experience this once. So our people's thoughts and prayers, like, that's amazing, but that's not going to help us in the tragedy. But yeah, it's very sad, and I really think that we need to go towards more gun control, whether that's, we kind of cut down on AKs and pistols and really keep that inside people's homes for self-defense, rather than being able to open carry, because that it really extends the opportunity for people to be school shooters. A Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador's notorious mega jail, Seacoat, has now moved to a new prison with no intention of returning him back home in the United States. The White House accuses Kilmar Abrego Garcia of being a member of the transnational Salvadorian gang MS-13, a designated terrorist organization. Though he has never been convicted of a crime, the Trump administration has been using the 1798 Alien Enemies Act that allows the government to detain or deport people from an enemy nation during wartime or invasion with little to no due process. In a meeting with President Trump at the Oval Office, El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele said, quote, "How can I return him to the United States? Like, if I smuggle him into the United States, of course I'm not going to do it. The question is preposterous," end quote.
According to the U.S. government, documents obtained by the Associated Press, El Salvador is receiving $20,000 per deportee per year. That adds up to $6 million for the most recent group, where El Salvador's president says these payments will help make the prison financially self-sufficient. Even though the Supreme Court ordered the United States government to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia to his family, Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller stated he was sent to, quote, the right place, end quote. Abrego Garcia's lawyers say this isn't just an administrative error, but a constitutional failure. Senator Chuck Schumer also stated that, quote, the law is clear. Due process was grossly violated. He should be returned to the U.S. immediately, end quote. This past week, Senator Chris Van Hollen met with Abrego Garcia to ensure both the rule of law and the right to due process before the courts were upheld. He stressed that if his constitutional right is stripped, it is jeopardized for everyone else. Again, this is a story right now in the news that feel like there's just updates every single day and even every single hour. Every time I listen to NPR, there's just another update on this story. And it is really, really, really dividing the country right now because, again, it is an issue of constitutional rights. And it's really scary because, again, if it doesn't apply to him, does it apply to anyone else in this country, even if we are from this country, even if we are citizens? So it's a scary and really unsure time for so many people.
I totally agree. And the most interesting part about all of this, to me at least, is that we are seeing people deported with no due process. But we're also seeing this in other sides of the government, whereas like in Doge, people are being fired for absolutely no reason just because Elon Musk and the Trump administration felt like their job isn't worthwhile, like they're not doing anything, and then we see our nation just turning into shambles. So these people are being deported to internment camps, essentially, with absolutely no reasoning behind it.
This is definitely a tricky situation that we're seeing here, mostly when it comes to El Salvador and Bukele, since we have seen that throughout the years, thanks to Bukele, El Salvador is now a safe place. Thanks to him, gangs such as Las Maras Salvatrucha or the MS-13, which is not in the country anymore, so people can go out and not be kidnapped, since that was the case several years ago. However, Bukele has been too long in the power, and I don't consider that it's okay to be in the power for that such a long time, since we have seen that it's no good to the country or to the people. So we have to see how everything's going on and definitely talk about like the deportations here. Why are we sending these people? Why are we capturing them?
Yeah, this whole situation is incredibly frustrating and just kind of spin your head around when you just see all of these stories about new people being picked up by ICE and then all of a sudden they're in El Salvador and were deported given no due process. And it seems like a lot of this from the Trump administration, especially with Kilmar, they're kind of just grasping at straws, trying to claim that he's a part of MS-13 and saying that it's for the greater good that he's gone, but they don't have sufficient evidence. They're saying that his hand tattoos like spell out MS-13, yet they don't. There's a leaf, a skull, and I forgot the other two, but you know, it's just getting scary at this point because if he's taking people, giving them no due process and deporting them, even if they are immigrants, he's going to come for American citizens next, and he's already said this. He said that he's coming for homegrowns. So it's an incredibly scary situation, and I just hope that the administration sorts it out properly to where deportees are given due process. The Coachella Music Festival just concluded their lineup this Sunday, April 20th, featuring a wide variety of artists and special guests, including a few surprises from the political aisle for those in attendance. On April 12th, attendees were surprised when Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders took to the stage right before singer-songwriter Clairo's performance to the welcoming applause of the crowd.
Following warm introductions to the near 100,000 audience members, Senator Sanders highlighted the importance of Gen Z's role in determining America's future, stating, quote, "This country faces some very difficult challenges, and the future of what happens to America is dependent upon your generation," end quote. With a recent rise in Gen Z's activist involvement in American politics, studies conducted by Yale University have concluded an alarming rise in conservatism among Gen Z voters aged 18 to 21 years. While both Democratic Senator Sanders and New York Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez begin campaigning across the country in preparation for the 2026 midterms, one can only speculate what the future may hold for Gen Z. So, Sanders in Coachella. This is a campaign movement. He knows what to do to capture Gen Z. He knows all the influencers. He knows everybody's watching Coachella right now with Lady Gaga and everybody else. So I consider he did the right thing.
Yeah.
I think
Go for it.
Okay. I was going to say, I think it was a really cool way for Bernie Sanders to come out and get younger people into politics and also just aware of what's going on right now, especially during such a dividing time in American politics.
Mm-hmm. So. Juliana basically said exactly what I wanted to say. You read my mind. But I think this is what's very smart about the Democratic Party. They know exactly who to target, and that's Gen Z. They know that most Gen Z voters do lean a little bit more to the left rather than the right, and they are aware that they can use events like Coachella to their advantage. And not only that, it's going to cause a lot of buzz on social media, right? Immediately, as soon as I went on like X and Instagram, you see Bernie Sanders at Coachella, and you see his video, and you see his social media just all plastered all over it. And that's a smart campaign move by him. And it also arguably fits him really well. Like it kind of like it was very strange at first, but the more you think about it, it's like if anyone's going to go to Coachella, it's probably going to be Bernie Sanders or even AOC if she did that as well and chose to do that. We even saw AOC playing Twitch and like video games, I think in like 2020 when the presidential elections were happening to advocate for Biden. So again, they're utilizing it really well in a very strategic way, and I can respect it.
100%. And you know, I was kind of thinking the same thing of they know how to target the voters that they're trying to get. And I almost wondered, I thought about it for a little bit about how, well, most of the people who are at Coachella are probably more so leaning left, especially that it's in California and there's a lot of influencers and music, and that's usually a liberal, more progressive thing to do. And so at first I was like, well, like, is he really targeting the voters that he needs to? But then you brought up that you're seeing it all over social media. All of these people and all of these Gen Z voters are seeing what is going on here at Coachella, and it's the place to be. And if Bernie Sanders is there talking to people saying that this is something you need to do and be aware of, then all those people who are like, I want to go to Coachella are like, okay, I hear you, Bernie. So I think that that's a really cool move to reach our voters. Scientists are investigating the death of a 45-foot gray whale that washed ashore near the Huntington Beach Pier last Friday afternoon. After the marine biologists at the Pacific Marine Mammal Care performed a field necropsy, they expressed concern that the 60,000-pound adult female whale showed no obvious signs of injury and appeared to be healthy. They said that although there is a domoic acid bloom spreading along the Southern California's coast, gray whales do not feed on their migration route, and they do not eat filter-feeding bait fish. After several attempts to tow the whale's carcass back to the ocean, the city of Huntington Beach's maintenance crew buried it under the sand last Sunday morning.
Alyssa Shulman-Janiger, who studies gray whales, says this one isn't a one-time circumstance. More than 70 gray whales have been found dead near Mexico, marking this year's migration numbers the lowest in 40 years. She said gray whales are a sign of the ocean's overall health, and their decline could indicate drastic changes in the marine ecosystem. Officials of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration are working to determine the whale's cause of death. Now, I personally just was starting to find out about this after I was reading the story and researching it a bit, but it's definitely just sad, you know, especially just being in SoCal in general. You see our oceans, and that's the number one appeal for the area. People go to the beaches all the time, and just seeing the marine life suffering as well because of our consequences is really, really heartbreaking.
I totally agree. And, you know, I've seen a lot on social media, like these whales popping up on the beaches dead. It's really scary, and it goes to show that our ecosystems may be failing in the ocean. And like some of the marine biologists say, is that the marine ecosystems are the ones that really show how our ecosystems on land are doing. And if all the whales are dying, then that really goes to show that they're not doing well. And to add on to that, we've seen whales dead not only in Huntington Beach, but in San Francisco and in areas closer to us like Long Beach, Laguna Beach, and down near San Diego. It's really, really scary and sad.
Yeah, these are unfortunate news. Like we have seen more than 70 whales dead, like around the coast, and we can say like this is proof that the environment is not doing well. That climate change is happening right now. We've seen in our animals, in our ecosystems. Besides that, it hasn't only been whales; it has been sea lions and even more. So what are we doing right now to fix this problem?
Yeah. I'm from Long Beach, and there was an incident recently of a sea lion attacking a girl who during lifeguard training, so they had to postpone that. Luckily, she was okay. Her arm did get a bit roughed up, but otherwise she was fine. But also, like, I've seen other reports just about seals washing up dead on the beaches, or some of them even having seizures, and they think it could be a toxic algae bloom. But it is concerning that it's happening to whales and seals, and honestly, it could be even more animals. So hopefully it gets fixed soon, because it is incredibly sad for the animals that have passed. This past Thursday, the California Faculty Association hosted an informative fair exposing the inequities undereducated students and underpaid faculty face.
Our executive producer, Vanessa Sigüenza, has the report.
As staunch advocates of the People's University, the Cal State Fullerton chapter of the California Faculty Association held a Save the CSU's Education Fair April 17th to celebrate the National Day of Action for Higher Education. Christina Cecil, CFA Chapter Secretary and Associate Professor of Communications, said the CSU is mismanaging funding through program cuts, privatization, and $17 million investment on AI, which could instead be used to fund about 260 instructors' jobs. She added that the university's launch of the Student Wellness Initiative is a prime example of how funds are not properly allocated to the Titan community's needs. The CSU system has a shocking $75 million contract with Deloitte, a company which promotes the use of AI. Instead of investing in that firm, the funds could instead be used to provide 2,400 students with 4 years tuition-free education, said Cecil. The end goal is to bring the CSUs back in line with its primary mission to provide instruction for future generations and move towards a tuition-free CSU system. Jules, a student volunteer supporting the CFA's efforts, hosted an interactive bargaining table to toss rings on the topics of salary, academic freedom, and job security that matter to Titans. As expected, salary toppled the rest. Dr. Mendez, gender and sexuality professor, said that as a union, they are encouraging everyone to ask where the CSU system money is being spent, since according to the latest budget account, it is not on instruction.
We want to fight for faculty rights, we want to fight for lecturer rights, coaches, librarians, staff, and most definitely students. Because at the end of the day, they're going to pit us against each other, right? And we want to make sure that you all know, like, we really, really, really do care about your learning conditions, not just right now, but way into the future.
This is Vanessa Sigüenza with a report. Back to you ladies in the studio.
And with that, that's all we have for today. Thanks, Vanessa.
Have a great rest of your week, Titans.
And stay tuned for more news, views, and info.
We'll see you next time on The Report.